Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee meeting here today, Thursday, July the 10th, 2025. And just to make note that we are now meeting at 9 a.m. For this committee instead of 2 p.m. When we do meet. This meeting will be streamed live and recorded for public viewing on the town's YouTube page using the following link. www.youtube.com/@town-of-Plympton-Wyoming/streams. If you care in the future to watch it, it'll be on there for a few years before it's taken off, at least till the next council. Item number 2 on the agenda this morning, if anybody has a pecuniary interest, they can declare it either now or at any time during the meeting. We don't have any delegations today for item number 3. Item number 4, looking at the minutes, 4.1, that the minutes was moved by Adrian Verwegen, seconded by John Van Claveren, that the minutes of the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee meeting be received and approved for adoption. And we have the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee meeting minutes, May the 8th, 2025. And the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee meeting minutes of May the 29th, 2025. So have a look over them very quickly. Okay, does anybody have any corrections or changes in those minutes? Anything at all? Mistakes or spelling errors or? Okay, then, all in favor of those minutes? Carried, thank you. Now we'll take a look at 5.1. That's business. Number 5, business arising from the previous minutes, and we have a 5.1 there. Wyoming Public Cemetery bench installation locations. And that the staff be directed to place the one bench for the Wyoming Public Cemetery along the 5th, the 6th row, Neely/Smith, from the entrance of the cemetery, and the second bench near McClay/Shea. We discussed this during our tour. That's where these locations came from. So any comments around that? And if you see in your minutes there, some of the prices of these benches. I think are they in here, Diane?
Yeah, miss,
Yeah.
the,
Keep switching pages.
the prices have not changed. I contacted their site furnishings and they have not changed since Ella presented them.
But they're not attached, they're not attached to our minutes.
They are in the full agenda that's online.
Yeah, they're on the computer. See, nobody has them right.
Yeah, nothing's changed since Ella presented it over a year ago.
So I have them up here. I'm glad I opened up my computer. Harris Site Furnishings, I guess Outdoor Fitness is where they're coming from. Premier arched back bench, black anodized aluminum plaque. Black proof to be confirmed. Total price GST HST $38.96.24. What I see for per bench, is that per bench or is that for 2? That's for 2, yep. 38.96.24, including GST HST.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do we know what the warranty's like on these? I'm not finding it on this quote.
Okay,
That's something we could explore.
I can find out.
Yeah, there's nothing that I see on this bill that even talks about. But I would assume, you know, they're aluminum, anodized aluminum, so they should be, there's no wood on them or anything like that, right? And we have a couple over there now, so.
Now,
There and throughout the whole township, we've placed that style of bench.
Same company, huh?
Yes,
Same company. Do you know what warranty it would be? Or?
not offhand. But, yeah.
And you haven't noticed any that have, you know, maybe the color changed or?
Nothing colors changed or anything. They've been really good benches.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the location then, everybody happy with that? No issues. That's kind of where we picked, and so go ahead with that.
Yep.
That'll be 6 in about 100 meters. I have 6 benches.
Yeah.
We're all getting older, so we can't walk as far.
That's right.
Yeah, the only thing with benches, and we've discussed this in depth here, I mean, we don't allow anybody to put benches over there. Now we're gonna have 6 of them within a short distance of one another, but yes,
There will also be an additional $500 per bench for the slab beneath them, just to make you aware of that. So
Okay.
that's what we, I think it's Ferreira's concrete out there. They make the slabs for us now, so.
we haven't ordered any. Okay.
wait for your approval.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do, because this has been debatable here, whether we go for more benches or we don't go for more benches. And as I've always said, it's up to the committee. So let's make a final decision that this is what's going to happen, not going to happen. So I'm gonna ask for a vote. All in favor of proceeding with what's recommended here with 2 more benches in the locations. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. Okay, if there's no more questions on that, I guess you can order them. I don't know how long it takes to get them, but
I'll order them, let you know.
As a follow-up, Mr. Chairman, maybe we cap it at that then also. So that would be the benches that we have there, maybe don't necessarily need to install any more past these. You know, once we've installed these, maybe that's good for now. Is that kind of
I agree.
what we thinking, Adrian?
well, it is and it
Yeah,
isn't.
if they were being used, then I'd say, yeah, put more in, but I doubt very much if you're gonna see any of them being used too much on any given day. So I really say, what are we doing this for? I don't understand that, but anyway, whatever.
Yeah. My wife wants one out at the post office in Kamalaki, so anyways, anyway, we made a decision, but I don't think we can make a decision like that. You know, a new council, new committee, they may decide they want to take half of them out.
Fair enough.
So it's hard for us to
Mm-hmm.
make decisions for a future committee. That's just me, but it's kind of the way it works with all of council. You can't tie their hands. Decisions like that.
No, I guess maybe I should have articulated that better, that I think for me that like 6 is more than enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, John, we leave it at that, or I mean, you make a motion to cap it, but.
No, it's okay.
Okay,
Understanding is good enough.
okay, 5.2 there on the business arising, 63 of 2025 cemetery bylaw. Where are we here? That the Wyoming Public Cemetery bylaw be received and the staff be directed to provide the bylaw for the council's approval at the next regular council meeting, 63 of 2025.
Chair,
Yes.
if I could just speak to that.
Yeah.
The one that was presented again, during Ella's, time here, where she just left, and, we sent it to, the Bereavement Authority of Ontario for their review. And they have approved it as it was sent. So I know when I first started, I did some edits and that sort of thing. And so basically it's all administrative type things that were sent. They've changed the ministry name and all sorts of different little things, but it's now approved from the EAO, and they're the only authority that can approve it. At that point, and then it comes back to the committee and then to council for approval.
So I have a copy of the 2022 here with me, but is there a subsequent one to that? Or is 2022 the?
She had on a cemetery agenda last year that the committee looked at and then
Okay, that's right, yeah.
approved. She sent that approval away to them and it's
Okay.
it's staffing changes and they apologized for the amount of time it took them to review it. And they had just done that in May. So it's come back and what I can do is we can have the full agenda when it was sent out, but if you don't have it today, I can send that to
It's online, right?
it's online.
Yeah, so it's online.
That's the approved BAO online. Yep.
Any other questions on this one? Diane, is there anything notable changes in here that you should know about? Like, is there anything here that we changed?
Yeah, if you, when you go online, you'll see that one of the largest areas is the transfer of interment rights.
Pardon me, what line are we on?
It would be 3.5 of the bylaw.
3.5?
Yeah, that's the largest area that they approved, and then they would offer the text edits that should be done, so it's all approved by them.
Okay, so is everybody, you all don't have this in front of you, do you? You don't have your computer. Okay, so let me just, 3.5, plots ineligible for resale or transfer. It's always interesting. For the purpose of resale, following listing of plots in the Wyoming Public Cemetery were purchased during the years 1884 to 1911. An audit of the records kept and in the possession of the town indicates there is insufficient information to determine if there are any burials in these plots. Therefore, the town is declaring there will be no future interments and they are not eligible for resale. And there's the plot numbers. So what that's saying is they have no idea if there's somebody in them, not in them. So they're saying they're not available. Considered as if they've been a burial, you know. And there's a whole bunch of them. Macro. Yeah, there's quite a bunch of them.
100.
Yeah,
How many?
Yeah,
100.
close to it.
Close to 100, yeah.
that's pretty significant in a small community like this.
It's my understanding too that these are all unmarked. There's no,
Yeah, they don't know. There's no evidence whether there's somebody there or not somebody there.
This is in Wyoming Cemetery.
It'd be in the Wyoming Cemetery.
Hmm.
So from those dates that I mentioned, you know, it's going back now in them days and know where the records went, I don't know. I know Ella did an in-depth study on this because we were talking about, do we need to expand our cemetery? Right? So, you know, there's 100. I mean, that's a pretty significant number, but so anyways, this has been approved with the cemetery provincial, so they've approved it.
What's interesting at the bottom of that, it says any persons attempting to reclaim any of these plots by court order will be required to supply a ground radar testing that guarantees no interments have taken place within the plot.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder whether the town would at some point in time be interested in doing that ground radar test to prove once and for all whether there is or isn't anybody there and maybe be able to use them in the future.
I think that technology is not very reliable. So if we were to do it, we would be looking, all they can do is see changes in the soil structure. Disturbed, thank you, yeah. And so we would go through that procedure and still not really be able to guarantee. So therefore, if you put that onto someone making a claim, and then they see something disturbed or a little pattern of something is different, then they can make the decision on move forward. The likelihood of that happening is pretty unlikely, hey? Yeah.
You know, like that's a good point, John. when you look at a lot of this indigenous scanning that they're doing, I have often said, have they confirmed or not confirmed what this radar is showing? And I don't know, never heard whether they have dug to confirm or not confirm. I don't think so, but now we talked about it, and I think it's a fairly expensive thing to do. I'm not sure, Diane, have you ever heard what the cost of that? No,
So random.
I don't think it's something we really wanna, well, it'd be nice to know.
It'd be interesting to determine whether that could ever be of value to. us.
Yeah.
Right, you know.
So maybe just Diane, sometime you're talking to people that do that, just confirm what kind of costs it is and just, and then as John mentioned, the accuracy of it. How accurate is it and would it confirm that that lot's available or not? I tend to agree that I'm sure they can guarantee. But
And then obviously like excavation. Is not appropriate, obviously, too. Am I correct in saying that? Yeah, and so even over. Like 50 years, 100 years, I don't know if there's ever a time limit where. Excavation becomes appropriate. I don't think so necessarily.
But I have read that for places where they build, this is the United States, I think, by and large. Two places where they've moved cemeteries, entire cemeteries. One is for the installation of interstate highways. And the other one was when they installed a dam someplace and the flooded area was gonna be covering a cemetery. They moved cemeteries under those situations somehow.
yeah,
And that technology back in the 50s, when maybe the interstates were being built, I don't know what kind of they used to do that, but it's been done.
yeah, definitely. So I think it'd be worthwhile.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Information.
Bring it back to the committee just so we know when it's
Yeah.
future. And sorry here, but I didn't get you to vote on this bylaw. It was moved by John Van Claveren, second by Adrian Verwegen. That staff be directed to place the one bench for the Plympton-Wyoming cemetery along the 5th, 6th row, McNeely Smith from entrance of the cemetery and second bench near McClay last shade. All in favor of that? Yeah, for, did I?
Yes, I signed it.
Did we vote?
Yes, I'm.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I hadn't signed it. Okay, already done. Okay. All right, just that confirms it. Okay, are we here? Okay, and this one here was moved by Adrian Verwegen, second by Albert. That the Wyoming Public Cemetery bylaw be received, the staff be directed to provide the bylaw for council's approval, the next regular council meeting. We'll present that to the council. All in favor? Thank you, Gary. Yeah. Okay. 5.3, 2025 Memorial Day in honor of Decoration Day recap. 2025 Decoration Day final report.
How did that go?
Oh, it was great. Adrian did a fantastic job. As I knew he would. Especially, you know, since he volunteered to do it, it was awesome.
And how much did you charge for that service? Free 99?
I haven't got any checks in the mail yet, but I'll let you know.
It'd be in the same package as,
Senior year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And I guess while we're on the topic, we have a volunteer for next year to do this, and Mr. John has finally volunteered. Correct, John?
All told, yes, sir.
Next year, so that'd give us an advance notice so everybody can take a sigh of relief that you're not gonna be chosen. So that's official, right, John?
Sure.
All in favor of that? Carried? Gosh, great to have volunteers. Okay, anyways, yeah, it went well, so the committee wants to comment on it, or
Attendance?
yeah. Pushing 40, weren't we?
Yes, maybe.
Pushing 40.
Good.
That was awesome. I don't know what else to say other than anybody else got anything to say about it?
Stayed at the cemetery or?
It did. It did, and it was a good, nice day.
Yeah.
That was a nice day. I
In
mean,
front of the columbarium
Yeah.
where the concrete was and the benches, and nobody used the benches. But they were nice benches. And the chairs that John provided were nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Few bird droppings on the benches that we kind of didn't
Watch them up.
plan for. Next year, we'll plan a bucket of water, and maybe that's why nobody was sitting on the benches, but
I think next year we'll put a row of John's chairs in front of the benches. Nobody would sit in those.
That's right.
Use the,
And the benches.
yeah.
be in the front row.
That's pretty clever, yeah.
And just for the record, like the sound system, the musicians supplied the sound system, so we didn't have to run around, well, we did run around, we were thinking about John's sound system, and so that worked out good. So for the next time, we can ask that question right away to the musician, are you gonna have the sound system? And then he supplied the mic for Andrew.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to run around getting that kind of stuff, so we'll keep that kind of in the records for next year. The columbarium was a perfect spot. And to Adrian's, supporting Adrian, it was, I think, a great decision to have kept it outside.
I think so.
It really was. And getting back to what Adrian said about at the time, that's the purpose of it, to go to the cemetery for decoration day. Yeah, the fallback would have been Legion. I mean, if the weather's bad, either reschedule it for outside or you go to the Legion. So I think we had a good backup plan. Didn't have to use it. That was great. Any other comments on what could be improved, or? Like, we got the numbers, right? We were really questioning.
Yeah, I've got 47 total,
Oh,
with 11 of the 47 being dignitaries or program people. For a total of 36 off the street people is what I got. It could be a little bit off, but it's close.
Good day.
yeah. Yeah, and like it's probably as big as what we really wanna do for this particular committee. I mean, really, when I think about the purpose of it and everything, it's up to the people to come themselves that day and do whatever they're gonna do. We're just there to kind of kick it off. So I don't know if there was suggestions from this committee about doing something different and bigger, but when you really take a look at it, we're there to kick it off. Then it's up to people come in and decorate the graves or whatever they want to do personally. So now that the numbers are up, I think doing a pretty good job.
And that is probably relating to the advertising or whatever that we've done a little different the last couple of years. That's brought those numbers up, whatever we should continue to do, whatever it was we've done. And yeah, people will show up.
And for myself, there was a discussion here about maybe talking to somebody from the Legion and stuff like that. You know, I didn't do that. They know what day it is. They know very well. They do the kind of their own thing at Remembrance Day, because as Adrian even talked about that, the opening day there, about the Remembrance Day and Decoration Day kind of being brought together back in a certain year. They know what's going on, so I thought we talked to them the year before about it, and they show up. They want to show up. If they want to do it in their own Remembrance Day, whatever they do, then that's it.
So you have to remember they sometimes have functions there on Sundays
Yeah.
as well, so
So
maybe Clyde
yeah.
would have to let them know. Or
Yeah.
ask them.
So, well, they, like I say, they know about it. We certainly, they were told about it, and even the brochure, but nobody showed up, but that's it for them.
Just a comment on that, I can remember a number of years ago now when the Legion provided a color party with flags and everything. And when the bugler or the bagpipe player, they'd march, and it was pretty special. But those folks, as I recall too, they were old, older than I am now, but then. Well, I mean, I don't think those people are there maybe anymore. I don't know.
You're residing there at the cemetery now.
Yeah, that could exactly be. Yes, I hear you. But that was pretty nice with the flags and the the lasers and the great fence and that kind of thing. Pretty nice. Anyway,
Yeah.
that
No, and when you look at it, in honor of Decoration Day, I think we very appropriately named it the right. Changed that name a little bit, if you recall. And that's what it was all about. And I know we use the word, we'll never forget, and I think we're doing our best to kind of hold that up there. And, this day and age with what's going on in the world today, I'm not so sure that we aren't forgetting, some of us, about just what this is all about. So I think we did a great job. So thank you, everybody, for your time. Okay, if there's nothing else on that one, item number 6 on the agenda today, accounts. I wonder. No, okay, it's down farther, sorry. Accounts, we don't have anything. Number 7, staff reports, nothing. Bylaws, no items at this time. Correspondence, BAO Lifeline newsletter. I don't know, everybody have a chance to read that? It seems though here, just something I'm noticing right now, not everybody has a computer.
Oh.
So, and you would have got the minutes if you'd have had time to look at the computer, but I read it, yeah. Maybe we should try to attach some of this in the minutes. Would that be a fair request?
I agree.
Because I'm looking down here and nobody, unless they've read it, they.
No, I don't have it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Leave this. Yeah, well, this letter, you can get a chance to read it when you get home. It's really just for correspondence anyways. BAO provides guidelines to cemeteries under the contributing to the required care and maintenance fund. So it just goes through and explains, which is probably important to us. I don't know if they mention anything here about inactive. Anyways, what we'll do with this one, you gotta go home and get a chance to read it, because it's good reading. Maybe we'll attach, how many pages is it? 5. Maybe we can attach that one to the next.
Sure.
meeting. There's some questions you want to ask about it, because it's pretty important stuff. Maintenance, care and maintenance. Okay. Okay, item number 10. 10.1. Only public cemetery stonework. Yeah, Ann, do you want to give a report on that? What happened there?
Yeah, so during our cemetery tour, it's talked about perhaps we did need to have Aiden Klassen come in and do homework for this year. But there was already an agreement set up before Ella left, so he had already gone in and done his work, and it was half of the work that he did in the previous year in 2024. So I looked back and it was $5,000 worth of lifting and correcting, and I actually have which I'll have Lisa put on the next agenda, all the work that he's done for everybody's information. He took pictures as usual, and so he did all that work. It was about $5,200 compared to the previous year where it was over $11,000. So as everybody noticed, there wasn't as much work needed to be done, and here to that. So I'll have her attach that, all the work that he did for your next September agenda. You'll see that. And she'll also bring in all the accounts as well. So
He only $2,500 is what he
no,
did
5,000.
the 5.
Yeah, but
And in hindsight, and I went and talked to the clerk about this. In order for us to have changed this, because it was already in our budget and already motioned, we would have had to make a motion for him not to do the work, to make it legit. We didn't do that statement, so it worked out.
it
Worked out, so. Yeah, we couldn't just do that without making a motion and having it signed, so. It went well this year, so like for next year. he's saying he's pretty well caught up too, right?
It's,
So,
so it's in his report, so you'll be able to. see that.
yeah, so if he says that, we would have to make sure we don't put it in the budget or put it in the budget and then later make them, we gotta be careful here, we don't take it out of our budget because to me, you know, sometimes you can use your budget money for a little something else, you know, but then maybe later make a motion to say, no, we don't do any work after the tour, something like that, so we'll talk about it when we get to budget time, but or see what his report is also.
Be preparing for your next budget with September.
So that's what went on there. So they like, in the tour, I think we all can agree, things are looking pretty good. Okay, 10.2 there, in the new business backhoe matting during the cemetery tour. The committee discussed a request for matting under the backhoe during burials. No.
I was thinking, I was
Yeah.
thinking a lot more about this after the tour and stuff there and how we approach putting these mats down and taking them out. You're not gonna want these mats in during the burial. So they'd have to be placed a second time to go back in and fill the grave in. That means at that time, we're requesting 2 employees there on a Saturday to do the burial. I haven't seen, other than maybe 2 times, that we've created the ruts that we saw in the back corner to really think that it warrants buying these mats and laying them out. That one at the very back corner was pretty extensive, but we had a very wet period right there, and he had no alternative but to go in there. Just throwing that out there. It's gonna be more man hours, more wages and that kind of stuff on weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. Or not Sundays, we don't do Sundays, but Saturdays.
Mats for that kind of a job is very expensive.
Yes, and we don't always, the alleys are not always the same width either, so
Right.
we're weaving in and out of
Yeah.
certain areas to do some of the burials.
Yep, no, I don't think it'll work.
Who brought this one up? Who's concerned?
Well, I kind of mentioned it, and I just kind of thought from even a perception point of view. If you're there for a burial and at the graveside and nothing but a mud hole everywhere around. I guess just for the family too, it looks kind of backwards. I don't know. And I've noticed before with different applications, people when it's a situation where it's really muddy and soupy. That they have some sort of a mat framework that they can lay down in order to minimize, I guess, some of that damage.
So then going back to UL, if there was a situation really wet. Would you do anything? Like you're not gonna go in and put deep ruts and stuff.
Well, this one here happened just so happened because of the amount of rain we got
Yeah.
within the couple of days, and he didn't realize how wet it was until he got into it, but we do dig a couple days ahead of time to try and minimize the damages. So you've got that little bit of a window if you need to back it off.
But like Hank's getting that funeral day and it's all wet and it gets rutted up, would you put something down then in that situation? What would you
We
do?
haven't, no. But it's no different. We don't dig out snow drifts going back to them as well. It's just the path that goes to them during in the winter. If we're doing a burial in the winter, it'll be the tracks that we've made in to go in to do the excavation and then back out.
You're basically saying it hasn't really been a big problem,
No.
other than if you get into this heavy rain.
Yeah.
Now, when we went to my father-in-law's, mother-in-law's funeral up at the Resurrection Cemetery out in London Line, they had plywood all laid down, but it was terrible. It was a tripping hazard. Some of the edges were up. And we were carrying the casket like catch your toe, like it was not it wasn't a mat. It was just sheets of plywood overlapping. It was not a very good, but that was really wet. They really didn't have much choice. It would have couldn't even walked in there where they were buried. So where do we want to go with this one? Just status quo?
Does the township have a mini excavator?
Oh, not yet.
There's always been some talk about things, situations.
Yeah.
It's something that with tracks on it, so it wouldn't nearly.
That's intrusive.
Backhoe does it. So,
I'll bring that up at the next council meeting.
See,
Track machine,
yeah.
they've been wanting one.
yeah, another option might be just to purchase some other local cemeteries to see what they do. Whether it's this, you know, when in wet situations, how they deal with it, because maybe it's they're like this track that would, you know,
Very little damage.
from that.
Yeah, yeah.
Very little damage.
What,
So Calvary Cemetery, do they hand dig yet there? You'd like off some of the space.
Oh.
They're so close together. How do they get it back? Oh,
Our backhoe digs there.
yeah.
We dig for them.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
We've had to move some stones out of the way to get back in there to do the burial, but
Yeah, they're pretty tight together, a lot of them.
I don't think we have the money in our budget to buy a track machine for the cemetery, do we?
Oh, and it'll be for other
Yeah.
purposes too, on roads and in places useful.
I'm just wondering, thinking here, is it an option then say, rent one of these the next time you get into a situation like that?
I have a contractor on call. And he digs for the cemeteries out in St. Clair Township. He does those all the time, so, and he uses a mini X for it. That's when I purchased the last backhoe. I was leaning towards an excavator, the mini X, but it was strongly opposed by the operators at that time that they didn't want one for that purpose. So
We got two backhoes, don't we?
we do.
And,
We just bought a new trailer, heavy equipment trailer, didn't we?
It's,
Would carry a 6-ton track
it
machine.
should, yes.
Anyways, we're not gonna solve that here, so, but it might be a topic I may just look forward to the council for not only cemeteries, but
Small jobs, parks could share it as well,
I'm
right?
surprised we
The
don't.
purpose, these things,
Mr. Chair, do we know, like, these mats, would they need to be moved by a machine also, or can you manhandle that?
Depends on the specific mat. The larger, heavier ones that are, you know, you're supposed to last a lifetime, they're not a man, but even two men.
Sure.
They would have to be kind of somewhat chained in or whatever, lowered, strapped.
the sugar beet guys use them too, and they're, you know, they're tough. But they're too big to handle by hand.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Have to move with the loader, picked up with a forklift.
I'm just looking at a few that come up real quick online, and they start at about $500. And they're 4x8.
Not for that, I used to.
But maybe those are super light duty. Anyways, and yet if we had a couple in our inventory, it wouldn't mean that we needed to use them all the time either, just on those real messy. And then they would be available for maybe some other applications too. I don't know. Where you need to do some digging somewhere and you wanna protect the lawn and
Why don't we leave that with Al?
okay.
And let them think about other applications that you could use something like this for or not. And whether you could use them in the cemetery and your backhoe opera, have a discussion.
Maybe some
Maybe
prices.
Take a look at maybe what would required in these mats or not.
Yeah.
And maybe next meeting we can talk about it again.
Some prices.
Actually, just a discussion.
Mhm.
And your operators might tell you no way. End the discussion pretty quick.
I've already had somewhat of a smaller discussion with the operator and I did get that.
You would, yes.
You know where it's coming from.
Where it's coming.
Yeah.
Again, that was my first thing. The more I thought about it was, it's not just a one-person job.
Yeah,
So we are looking at double the wages to do a burial and that it'll affect the cost of the burial.
yeah. Yeah, I would suspect you might have got a remark like, are you nuts? So, all right, well, why don't we just leave it with you and have a discussion, see what John just talked about, some of these mats, the cost of them, whether they can be handled. I agree, it would take a fair bit of extra labor to do that in every burial. Anyways, that's. Okay, we'll move on then. 10.3, Christ Church and Anglican, Arrow Cemetery. Committee observed overgrowth of lily of the valley in the back of the cemetery and wanted to create a pathway in the fall through this area to gain access to grave sites at the back of the cemetery. This has been a,
That's the one where you're in that Queen Street?
yes, yeah, certainly been a topic of discussion.
Mhm.
As long as I've been here, the amount of huge stones back in that bush.
Beautiful stuff.
Condition, yeah.
Have we ever received complaints? Is anybody,
Where,
okay,
other than from the committee itself, you know, them stones back in there, as everybody observed during the tour, like some of them are leaning pretty good, like. Get access back in there would mean, I think, a little more than just
The mats.
access. You're gonna have to straighten some things up and some mats and then paint it. Keep it cut. However, I don't know what our responsibility is there. There's a lot of stones back in there.
There is.
Like it's probably a third of the cemetery.
Yeah.
So money wise too. Big fair buck to get that. To be able to access the whole thing, but
did we talk about taking those stones and building like a center display? Or that we've done in others?
well, those are huge.
They're
Huge stones, 6 foot high. So I don't think you could even think about moving them off the grade. Or at least that's what I observed.
About straighten, get
It's a big job, that's big money, and they're,
Ooh.
where do you get the money to do that?
And the approval to move them off grave sites might not be simple to
Is
do.
is it appropriate to lay them down? I think I brought that up before and it gets kind of frowned on, but like where it's laid down and then set up on pedestals.
Yeah.
So it's still raised off the ground.
Yeah.
You can't see all four sides, but it's not laying in the
Yeah.
dirt per se. And that seems like it could be handled, you know, quickly and easy, and then it's safe. You never have to worry about it plopping over.
one in particular there, a round one, and it's a tall.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that, you know, that's, you can't lay that down or you can probably move it.
Diane, you had.
But it was moved there, so it's obviously movable.
Yeah, yeah, it is awful. That's when they had horses.
Pardon me?
That's when they had horses.
Diane, you wanted to.
Sure. One of the lines added to the bylaw, the approved bylaw by the BAO
Yes.
was, and you can you'll take note to this, 5.6. Should any monument or marker present a risk to public safety because it has become unstable, the cemetery operator shall do whatever it deems necessary by way of repairing, resetting, or laying down the monument or marker or any other remedy to remove the risk. So that's linked to back to laying down the.
Yeah, that's good insight. Yes, yeah.
Well, I think, look at, since I've been on this committee, which is getting to be quite a while, we've discussed this back in there. Hey, Adrian, you've been here much longer than I have, and we seem to always leave the room and really not do a whole lot back in that area.
Why, I'm, yeah, if we get a complaint, that's something different. We haven't got a complaint,
Yeah.
so why create ourselves work we don't need to do?
Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
safety issue involved, that's a different situation, but I don't think I hear that for this, no.
So I don't think we're gonna solve it, and you're looking at a lot of money to go back in there and start opening that up.
I do think it's okay for us to expand our minds a bit. To consider some time. Of laying the odd monument down. Instead of on. Stands of some kind,
Yeah.
just barely off the ground, but. For safety, only for safety.
Maybe what we'll do here is Al and I sometime, and I'm not talking during bug season. The off season, when it gets nice and cold and the weeds are died down, go back in and just take a walk about it. And there's a situation like you're talking about, John. Maybe we could, if it's leaning too much. Maybe it could be laid down according to the bylaw. Have a look.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but in that very cemetery, is there not a monument to the right where the The piping's been removed. That's more of a tilt than the ones at the back.
Yes, and out where people now can get
I
in.
thought there's one there we should be.
Yeah.
If that's on our list or not, but yeah, I thought there was one there that was,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know that one, right up against those big,
Yeah,
Norwegian.
got quite a lean on it.
yeah.
Can we straighten something like that out, or is that?
Well, I mean, that'd be something I would probably, consult with, Tom Classen.
Yeah, I think he'd be the right guy to
To
do.
lift it and maybe, you know, put some material underneath it a little bit to,
I will keep that in mind for this. That's why we gotta leave that in there. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well then, I think what I'm hearing here, correct me if I'm wrong, that just not stir anything up that we don't need. Just leave it alone for now, but keep an open mind. And we'll take a look through there. If there's anything that's really a safety issue, we'll have to address it.
Okay.
What's the bug on the weeds you're gonna?
Yeah, but
Okay, new business for us. Pam, do you have anything for new business?
No.
Hank? Al?
I'm good, thank you.
John?
Mr. Chair.
no,
Senior citizen, sir?
yeah, thank you. There's citizen.
And I do not have anything other than say, once again, thank you for, recreation day there. Decoration day, awesome. It just went well, so we look forward to next year. Okay,
We'll have to confer, Adrian.
moving on here, the Wyoming Public, moved by Albert, second by Adrian, the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee adjourns until September the 11th, 2025 at 9 a.m. with a call of the chair. All in favor? Yes. Thank you, Diane, for the reminder. It's at 9 a.m. because my calendar keeps saying 2 p.m., 2 p.m. That reminder's
I
great.
like the 9 a.m.
I do too. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Way to go, John.